O.H. Skinner is standing by, Executive Director, Alliance for Consumers Action. States are taking action against woke lawfare, as well they should, because, man, are we getting over this. Hi, O.H., how are you?
Hi, I'm good, Fawn. It's always good to talk to you.
Yeah, good to have you too. And I just feel like, can't we just get back to let people be people? We don't really care who you are, what you do in your free time. Just let everybody be who they are and quit preaching about it in schools and suing everybody for everything. I'm over it.
I mean, you just described trying to make every liberal in America into a conservative, right?
Well,
because really,
pretty
I mean,
much.
you watched it. The Biden years were basically defined by trying to make everybody live this progressive coastal California lifestyle. And when President Trump took over, you also know, because we've talked about it, that all the Lebs did is they switched around and decided that they would bring all these lawsuits to try to make the real, rest of America, real America, into California. And they thought, well, I got a few years now where this will be my only strategy. And the number one thing we've got to do is prevent them from doing it, because otherwise it doesn't matter what you do at the ballot box anymore. They win in court.
It doesn't even make sense to me with what's going on right now. It really doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, they just have taken their efforts and they basically decided that if they couldn't ban your gas stove in D.C. at the Department of Energy, then they would turn around and bring a lawsuit in state court and hope that they could find a judge who would ban your gas stove in the courtroom. And that's the danger, right, of just they're committed to making you live like they want to live. You and I both agree that if you want to be a cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs person and live in California with no air conditioning in a tiny house, you're allowed to do that.
Right.
They don't think we should be allowed to have 4 kids and drive a large car and live in Plano, Texas, right? They just don't think that that's an okay choice.
Which is silly, obviously, but when it comes right down to it, why are we still having these fights? Didn't we already win them and put them to bed?
You would think, but I don't think these people think that any fight is a legitimate fight. I mean, they're committed to making you and me live like them by whatever means they possibly can. And once you realize that, you realize that they'll grab whatever levers they have. And right now, the only one they've really got is the courtroom, right? They're not going to win anything in the Missouri legislature. You and I both know that. Yeah. Whatever your problems might be or my problems might be with legislators, they're not going to ban guns and gas stoves.
No.
Right?
Not in this state.
So their theory of the world is that they'll get judges to do it in places like Kansas and Missouri and Oklahoma, and that's what they'll do.
And they're still trying. So we need to make it stop. How do we go about doing that? What do we do?
I mean, the easiest thing for states to do is the left likes to declare things to be a public nuisance, right? Sounds like a fancy word, but they basically think that climate change, gun violence, any sort of thing that they don't like is a public nuisance that allows a court to ban gas stoves, guns, Super Duty trucks, whatever it is, right? They'll bring a public nuisance suit over plastic straws because of, pollution. And so the number one thing states can do is what Kansas just did and what is possible in Missouri right now with your legislature, which is you just say you can't bring these public nuisance claims against licensed, regulated, lawful products. They're not meant to reshape American society. And in Kansas, the Republicans all banded together and overcame the veto by the lib governor out there. And they passed a law that basically said you can't sue over plastic straws, you can't sue over guns, you can't sue over trucks, you can't sue over anything that's a lawful product sold in commerce, right? If you want to bring a public nuisance suit over somebody dumping something in a river or making illegal drugs, that's a different conversation. But if it's a lawful product, if it's my plastic straw, bug off. And that's just a very common sense way to protect your state from left-wing lawfare.
It's funny because you saw the one picture of the turtle with the straw, and it was this whole thing, and then it became a whole movement. And we went, luckily, to we went to Florida one year, my grandson and I, and we had a paper straw, and we had to get like 7 of them because they kept turning into mush. You can't even use them. And so when we got home, he asked for a metal straw. So I waited till Christmas, and for Christmas I gave him a pack of metal straws, which are still in my drawer today because they're not fun to mess with or even clean. But there was a note attached to his Christmas gift. Now shut up about the damn turtles. That was it.
I mean, So right there, you just proved the difference between liberals and conservatives. First off, you've got a grandson. So, like, if you're a liberal, you haven't even met a child recently, right, in some of these areas. And then if you have a kid and you've ever watched them, my 2-year-old had a paper straw the other day, and she got very upset. I had to go through 7 of them because she thought this was just a malfunctioning device, right? Like, no, I need another one. And you get it exactly. And, you also know that the turtle with the straw in its nose is from China dumping trash in the ocean. I'm not really sure what any court in Missouri is going to do about that. But yeah, you've nailed it, right? Like, they just don't care that they're going to make your life worse because they'll feel better along the way. So when you pass these kind of laws, you protect plastic straws, you protect all the things that you use every day when you have kids. Yeah. You protect all the things you use every day when you don't want to just wear a hair shirt in the name of climate change.
Yeah. And it's funny because you're using more and wasting more by following these rules than if you would just use the stupid straw. And I don't want to hurt turtles. I don't want, I always cut the things that wrap around the 12 packs or the 6 packs, those plastic things, which you don't see very often anymore. They usually just come in a recyclable box, which I do recycle, folks. So don't crap your pants about that one. But, those plastic things, I still cut them open because I don't want an animal to get stuck in them. But I really wish we'd keep account of how many animals have been found like that, because I'm pretty sure it's not a daily experience.
It's not a daily experience. And to your point, you and I have talked about this before, so yeah. I feel bad just bringing it up again. But like,
we have
what you get is
every 15 minutes.
You're good. Yeah, first they ban all the plastic straws. Then they switch you over to paper straws, and then what happens. A little bit of a pause, and all of a sudden, how dare everyone be using 15 paper straws? You probably shouldn't be having straws at all. You probably shouldn't be drinking that because, it required, and that's how they crank the wheel, right? It's the same way, you and I talked about the air conditioning, right? First, they ban the stuff that makes it so you can cool your home. Then they make it super expensive. And then when your machine breaks, now they say, oh, it can't replace the fluid. Yeah. We made that into unicorn tears. So now it sounds like you just probably shouldn't have air conditioning.
That's just so crazy. It's just this circle of stuff. And then, we try to say, well, sugary drinks, you told us they're really bad for us. We shouldn't be drinking them. So if you're on food stamps, let's make it so you have to buy healthy food. How dare you tell people they can't have sugar? It's like we're dealing with 2-year-olds.
Yes. Well, but when you think about the fact that at the end of the day, they just want you to live like them, then it all starts to make sense because each of the maneuvers just becomes a clearer way to force you, right? Mm-hmm. They're not happy with a nudge anymore because when they nudged you, we've nudged back, right? Mm-hmm. Now they just think you should be living exactly like how they would live, and they've got a lot of levers to try to make it happen. And, thankfully, President Trump is in D.C. trying to make it easier for you to buy a dishwasher that works, trying to make it easier for you to buy products for your house. And the real story here is that the states have to pick up the slack, too, because the libs will just roll into your state courts and they will fine judges and they will push their ideology, but the legislature can protect you. And in a lot of these states, we have a large Republican voting bloc, a large conservative voting bloc, and one useful thing that they can do to protect their citizens is to just stand up and say the courtroom can't be used to control people's lives.
Case in point, Kansas, but we're out of time. But I do want people to understand that you on the left, you sit over there and you worry way too much about what we're doing because we're not thinking about you. So if you could just get that through your head, it would be great. OH, where do they go to learn more about the Alliance for Consumers Action?
Just Google Alliance for Consumers Action and or go to allianceforconsumers.org. And otherwise, thanks for listening and good luck in your states.
Yep. We'll get her done. Thank you, sir.